So welcome to our webinar today. I hope that you're here ready to learn. I am going to bring leadership coaching to you today. So what that means is I'm not going to hold back. And the reason that I coach this way with leaders specifically is because I know you can handle it. And I know that you have signed up for the role of leadership in your life because you want more, because you're not okay with minimal impact. You want to create positive, very meaningful impact. And you have signed up to be a broker, a leader of some sort. And if you're here today, maybe it's because you recognize that your own production, your own track record of success with your own sales has kept you from really, truly stepping into the greatness that is possible for you. So if that's you, go ahead, post in the chat box your raised hand. Yeah, that might be me. There's no shame. In fact, guys, I work with brokers all across the nation, and the fundamental challenges they have are very near and dear to my heart. I hear leadership desires inside of everything that they say. And at the end of the day, they're held hostage or in bondage because of their own real estate sales production. It's a thing. I get it. So I really want to encourage you today that even though I'm going to bring it for you leaders, I want you to know this comes from a place of love. It comes from a place of admiration for leaders that are doing the hard things every day. And I want to help you be more of that. So buckle in and let's get started. As I've interviewed brokers, as I talk to them all across the nation with the locker room, one of the things that I find is they have one predominant issue. The issue is most don't know how to not be an agent. What do I mean by this? Well, if I really kind of dig into the history of a broker, many brokers, they became really good at selling at some point in their past. They became good at selling. They know how to do it well. And they then decided to open a brokerage or become a leader in the industry of some sort. And being really good at sales doesn't automatically give you an MBA. It doesn't automatically give you a leadership credentials, and it certainly doesn't give you really anything to stand on when it comes to being a broker. I'm a broker. I took the Florida Real Estate Brokers Test, and it didn't talk at all about being a leader. It didn't talk at all about helping me get out of production. So it's natural that brokers wouldn't know how to do anything great, not anything, but that they do the best thing great, which is selling. So most don't know how not to sell. And why should they? In fact, when I interview brokers across the nation, they are typically, especially in independent brokerages, typically the highest producer in the brokerage. The brokerage depends on them being a hustler. The brokerage depends on them being an agent. So why would you have a desire or inclination to cut off your best source of income? It's no wonder that you might have stayed stuck longer than you wanted to in the role of slinging houses, like I like to call it, instead of coaching, training, and recruiting, and ultimately building your impact, building your empire through your brokerage. So I don't want to say it's not your fault because we as leaders have DNA in everything, but really our industry is not set up from a licensing and credential standpoint to really help you not be an agent. So let's recognize it right now. You're a good agent. You were a good agent. It's why you're here. It's very likely that you're the best agent in your brokerage. And I can see why it might be hard to break up with yourself and fire your best recruit, you. But if you truly want to step into the greatness that's possible, if you want to get your life back, if you want to make more money and do less work, it's going to require a different mindset around you being an agent. All right? I've heard it all. I've heard the reasons why. And fundamentally, it boils down to that. So let's go ahead and dive into some of the next points that I want to make here today. One of the other things that I have found in brokerages when I speak to brokers is that they sometimes don't really know what they're working with. They don't know how much money they make. They don't know how much money they need. They don't know what the gap is between what they make and their agents make. And guys, the other thing that I've learned, and it's kind of tragic to me, is that many, many, many brokers do not take a salary. They create their own personal lifestyle around their own income. So when they have a sale, they take that money and that's what they live on. Well, why in the world would you ever give that up if that's what your family depends on for the lights to stay on and for food to stay on your kids' tables? Why would you not sell? When you decide to take a salary, it means you funnel your own production through the brokerage and the brokerage pays you a salary. Now you're not as beholden and dependent on every dollar you make from a commission standpoint. Now you hold the brokerage accountable for producing for you. Okay. So it's a big mindset difference. So my question to you is, are you taking a salary? And I know why you might not. And I hear it all. They don't take a salary because they want to support the brokerage. They want to keep the money in the brokerage. They don't want to suffocate the brokerage. I get it. But at the end of the day, if you do not set yourself up to get paid for your broker job, you will always be an agent. It is a disservice to your brokerage and a disservice to you if you don't. So I'm just going to pause right here for a minute. I told you I was bringing it today, and I'm just jumping right in both feet to let you know that sometimes not taking a salary is not the noble thing to do. So this is a much bigger discussion than we have time for today. But if you've got the time, what I want you to do is gain clarity. Well, not if you have the time. Soon take the time to gain clarity. Clarity is your power. On the opposite side, a lack of clarity is weakness. So if you're not sure, you just haven't made this leap, or you just don't have any idea how in the world you would transition out of production, it's very likely that you don't have clarity. If you don't take clarity and take your power back, what will be different 6 months from now? And if you do nothing with our conversation today, this time next year, what will you wish you had done? And how many years will you go by on the treadmill getting nowhere if you don't jump off and decide to get on another piece of equipment, maybe an elliptical? All right, so a couple of clarity points that most brokers don't have, and I've listed them here. Most brokerages, and I guess most Americans, don't really know what their lifestyle costs on a monthly basis. If you knew, you could know what salary you actually need to take. So start by your home and your personal life. What kind of income is required to just keep that afloat? I'm not talking about diminishing that. I'm not talking about taking less. I'm saying, how much money do you really need at your home from your brokerage to produce for you so that you can keep your kids fed, you can keep the lights on? All right. I promise that one day there'll be a whole lot more than survival money. But for now, what does it take for you to just make sure your family is protected and that you have what you need on the personal side? Next of all, business operating expenses. I hate to say this, but it's the truth. Many business owners, not just brokerages, don't really understand what their operating expenses are in any given month. Also, do you know your average company dollar per agent transaction closed? I know I'm switching gears over to the brokerage here, but these are 4 points that we're going to talk about throughout this presentation today. And these are 4 clarity points that I'm going to ask you to make a point of understanding so that this transition plan will work for you. Once you know the average company dollar per agent transaction, you now understand how many agent transactions will replace you. Until you know that, until you gain clarity around that, you will never know how many agents you need to have and how much they need to be producing in order for you to stop producing. And then the next thing is your agent count and your per agent productivity levels. So looking at your roster, which of your agents are producing at their potential and which are not, and what's the gap? How many agents do you need to bring in? How many agents do you need to get into production? These are the numbers that are ultimately going to give you the freedom to be able to decide when and how to get out of production. Now, before I move on to the SMART plan, and I'm moving really quickly here, I'm covering a lot because this is a webinar style, and I'm going to show you later how to get more of what I'm giving you here in a coaching format that can really help you with your strategic plan. But before I move on, I want to make sure I mention that getting out of production means different things to different people. To some brokers, it means they'll never sell another house again. That's what it meant to me. Once I recognized that my true impact and my true power and my true joy of life was in training and coaching, I decided I would not be selling real estate because it was too much of a distraction. I had that ability to do that, and I made a plan and I did it. I have not sold a home in, I don't know, 6 years, probably, since I transitioned over. Some brokers, when they want to get out of production, it may mean that they simply want to not have to sell. And to most brokers, that's what it means. And that is okay too. This is your journey, your business, your production, and your decision. What I want for you, and what I believe the purpose of this presentation is today, is that you would no longer have to depend on your income to keep the brokerage lights on and to keep the home lights on. That you could choose who you want to work with and who you don't want to work with. And that, my friends, is the fundamental difference between being in production and being out. It's your choice in the matter. It's carrying the burden of production or choosing production that you want. Imagine what this looks like when you're out of production and you get to cherry pick the people you want to work with. And then you get to cherry pick the people you want to give away to your own agents who perhaps could convert those deals for you. So again, I just wanted to make that point that out of production may not necessarily mean never sell a house again, and that's okay too. You know what it means to you. You know when your production is holding you back from being the best broker you can be. That's what we want to stop. That's the excuse we want to take off the table so that you can truly step into being the leader that you signed up to be when you got your brokerage. So again, back to our slide here, there's a couple of clarity points that you're going to need in order to create your own transition plan. And these are them. These are very simple. These do not have to be detailed. And you can probably gain clarity on these with about an hour's worth of research and putting some pen to paper. All right, now let's jump in to what we promised you, which is a transition plan. And guys, you're going to actually be baffled at the end of this as to how simple this is. And I hope that that's the case because I want you to see that it's not something complicated. It just takes a new way of thinking. Most of us know what a smart strategic or a smart strategy is. SMART is an acronym, and we're going to work through the acronym today. And if you've never heard this before, lock it away. You can use it with your agents when you're coaching. A SMART transition plan is going to have the 5 characteristics of the word SMART, S-M-A-R-T. The way that I've designed this is for you to, we're going to take one letter each and have one strategic question around each letter. And you're going to take your answers to your questions and you're going to plug them into a formula at the end, which will spit out for you a very simple transition plan. I promise. So stick around, stick with us, and let me walk you through this. Let's start with S. S, when it comes to a plan, means it has to be strategic. So it means you need to know the real numbers. And I'm going to start at the very simple spot, which is what is your monthly required income to survive? Now, anybody that knows me, anybody that works with us at the locker room knows that we're not about just survival. We are about helping you and your agents thrive. However, if you're in survival mode, you often can't give back more than you have, and you really have little. And most brokerages are in survival mode. We know that the profit margins of a brokerage are at all-time lows right now. And I know the competition out there is fierce for you and your company dollar and your agents. So a lot of brokers are in survival mode. Well, we want to take you beyond that. However, for you to gain clarity around this plan, you need to know if I did nothing but X amount of money, I could feed my family responsibly and keep my brokerage door open. What is that amount of money on a personal side and on a business operating side? So this is your first question. And if you're here listening to me live today, take a picture of the screen because we're going to be answering these questions and the answers are going to be the plan. I promise you. Now, the clarity point on specific is what is the cost of your lifestyle and what are your business operating expenses? We mentioned this on a previous slide. This is your clarity point. Stopping and really putting pen to paper to know what is required to survive. Thriving will come later once you're out of production. We're talking about survival right now. Okay, so we're starting with S. Be specific. What is your monthly required income to survive? So let's start there. I hope you have a general idea of what that number is monthly. Next, we move to M, which is measurable. Now we're going to start really looking at the numbers and the measurement of what would be required in order for you to shift the burden of your production to your agents. Because at the end of the day, isn't that why you're here? Isn't that why you started a brokerage? And maybe not. Maybe you started a brokerage just to have your license on your own for independence sake. And then all of a sudden you woke up one day and you have like 10 agents. And these agents cost you money and time. So now that that's happened and now that you have these people, let's help you help them carry the burden of responsibility for the brokerage and allow you the freedom to be their leader better or to do maybe, I don't know, something else you want to do. Maybe you want to start another business. This is how we do it. We need to look at the agents and we need to measure how many agent closed units are required per month to cover your expenses. This is, again, very simple math. The clarity point that I mentioned before is understanding your average company dollar per agent transaction closed. Pause. Brokers, we're nearing the end of a year. This is the perfect time to reflect on your previous months and do this math. Take your total company dollar that you've brought in and divide it by your units. That is your average company dollar per agent transaction closed. Or if you have one split for every single person in your brokerage, take your average price point, get your average commission, and multiply it by your average split. That is your average company dollar per transaction closed. So why do you need this number? You need this number to know how many units you need to cover the first number we talked about, which was your survival number. How many agent units are required per month to cover the brokerage expenses? And again, I know this is basic and simple, but you've got to get down to this granular level to really understand what this path looks like. So this is your second question that you need to answer, okay? We're going to move on. We're going to move to A, which is attainable. Here's where we really identify the gap. And this is where you, Mr. or Mrs. Broker, get to decide, is this doable? Is this gap so big and so monumental that I don't even see myself crossing it without a bridge or without swimming across a very turbulent stream? This is where you get to decide. How many more agent units do you need? So if that previous number you just did on the M measurable slide was pretty monumental and you don't have anywhere near that right now, there's hope. Just bring in more agents, or you increase the agent's productivity you have, or both. We recommend both because we know that there are agents out there that need what you have, and the agents that you have probably are not performing at their potential and aren't performing at their potential because, bear with me here, you haven't been around the leader that they need because you're busy slinging houses and you haven't implemented the training that you wanted for them or the coaching. You're not as available to them for the productivity activities that they need. Sure, you'll answer contract questions. Sure, you'll pick up a phone at 9 o'clock at night when they're freaking out about how to put a listing on. But are you holding them accountable to the lead measures that will get them more closings or get them more contracts? And what if you were? What would it look like if all the time you spend managing your own transactions, you were focused on recruiting and increasing agent productivity? Imagine where your brokerage could be. And this, my friends, is why I said get your survival number, because that's just the beginning. Once you have your survival, your nut covered, if you will, you're unleashed to recruit and train. And doing those two things is going to get you where you want to go. And that is what moves you into thriving and out of surviving. So at A, attainable, we have to ask, what is the gap? Now, The clarity point for this one, the numbers you need to know are, what is your current agent count? And what are your current agent productivity levels? Meaning, how many units per month are your agents bringing in? Are you bringing in 5 and they're bringing in 2? Are they bringing in 5 and you're bringing in 1? So you get to decide what is attainable for you. How big is this gap that you need to cross in order to shift the burden of production off of your shoulders and onto the shoulders of the agents you've recruited, the agents whose license is under yours, the agents who depend on you to help them make more money. This is the clarity point for you. So under A, attainable, we talk about what is the gap. You get to decide if that's attainable or not. Here's my answer though, it is. Maybe the time will take longer, but I promise you it is attainable with the right focus, the right training for you, the right coaching for you, the right resources for you. And that being said, it moves us straight into R on our SMART plan, which is realistic. Realistically speaking, if you choose to traverse that gap in 2021, you're not going to do it alone. What tools, systems, and leverage do you need in place to make this possible? Because remember, through the course of a transition, you will still be selling. And so you will be not only selling, but now with this newfound plan, adding in these layers to get you where you want to go. So systems, tools, and leverage are going to be what you need in order to be more than you are right now, in order to take this to the next level. I believe you can do it. You know how I know? Because I've watched brokers do it. I've coached brokers do it. People on our team at the locker room have coached other brokers, and I'm going to show you specifically one in a minute, who has been able to move out of the burden of production and into a very smart transition plan that ultimately leads to freedom. So let's pause right here. What kind of tools, systems, or leverage would you need to make this possible? Now, each of you knows what you already have, and the rest of you don't. So maybe you take a look at your toolbox. What kind of training materials do you have? What kind of systems do you need that would make your life easier? Leverage. And by the way, tools and systems are leverage, but is there a person that perhaps you need to hire, or someone you've already hired that you need to get into doing their job better? I'm talking about maybe management staff or leadership team. Maybe someone needs a push in the right direction, or some new goals or new vision for what's possible for them. This is where you get to decide, what do you need? So take a minute and to answer this question. What is holding you back from taking this leap? What things will you need to help you get there? And I again, based on my conversations that I have with brokers all across the country, these things are typically training materials, coaching materials, systems, onboarding systems, retention systems, financial overview systems. These are typically what I see missing from a brokerage's toolbox that would help the broker not have to be the one wearing all the hats. It's perhaps some of those hats could be put on a tool or a system. So I'm going to ask you here, just spitball with me, jot down, what tools, systems, or leverage do you need to make this possible? At the locker room, we are a coaching company for brokerages. We have a lot of the systems, tools, or leverage that you might write down. We have a full plug and play training program. We have coaches like myself and many others who are here to help you navigate this plan. So no one succeeds alone. Don't try to go at this by yourself, because if you could have done it on your own, wouldn't you have already? So think about who you need, what you need in your toolbox to equip you and empower you to move into this next phase of your business. The last thing that we're going to talk about on the SMART plan is the time aspect. Whatever your plan is, it needs to have a time frame. It can't just be somewhere in the future. That won't work, because again, if that would work, it would have already worked. So by when will all of this be achieved? It's a very simple question. Make a decision. And there is no magic answer here. Here's what I believe and what I've seen in all my years of coaching leaders. Once you decide, it will happen. So you put the date on there that makes sense for you based on your gap, based on the other answers that you've had. Make your decision about when all of this will be achieved and decide. And I'm going to tell you a little story in a minute about someone who made a decision and then changed his decision as soon as he got into this and realized that he could, that it was even possible for him. Okay. So I want you to decide right now. There's no magic pill here. I mean, there's not a magic number. It's a decision. And really, it's truly the only thing between this plan and you executing. It's the time aspect. It's making a decision that this is when you're going to do it. And that's that. So by when will all this be achieved? Be radical. How long can you afford to not be the broker that you need to be? How long can the people that depend on you afford for you to be busy, selling your own deals? I get it. I get it. You're holding the place up. I get it. But let's step up. Let's bring other people to hold the building up with you. How long can you carry the burden of this on your shoulders before it costs you time, money, energy, relationships, joy, peace, freedom? This is your decision, brokers. All right, now we're going to put it all together. It's really, really, really simple. You take every single answer and plug it into this formula. And when you're done, you will quite simply have your smart transition plan. Let's review it together. In order for me to be out of production, I will need to bring in blank amount of money through my agent's production. This comes from the very first question I asked, which was, how much money do you need to survive? You can change this number as you transition. You want more money? Just change that number. Number two, it requires blank agent units, blank amount of agents units closed during the month. So that's your measurable number. How many agent units do you need closed? How many agents do you need is number three. I will recruit blank amount of agents and or increase agent productivity to blank units per month. This is the attainable piece. Again, these answers you already answered on the last slides. Number four, I will implement blank, blank, and blank, and then you can do blank, 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 and blank, blank. I don't care, however many you need. These are your strategies. These are the tools and systems that you need. Maybe instead of I will implement is I will hire a coach. Maybe it's I will finish something you started. I will implement an onboarding system in order to achieve this. This is where this is where you see the path. This is where it becomes reasonable to you. This is where it becomes attainable to you. This is where the rubber meets the road of activity. And then magic speaking here, I will be out of production by, put a date in there. Is it June? Is it March? Is it December? You know, brokers, I'll also stop here and say, what I've been blown away with when I talk to brokers is I often ask them, once they know how much money they need monthly to survive, I'll ask them if they have any money in savings. More often than not, when they look at savings, they have 6 months, 9 months worth of survival in the bank. Now that's great. Savings is great, right? But how much do you need to save before you finally say, I have enough. I have hedged my bets. I'm going to do this. After all, what are you saving for? And imagine how much more you can put in that savings account when you're operating inside of your true strengths and your true calling. How much more money can go in that bank account? I'm not suggesting that you all wipe out your savings because I don't want to be responsible for that personally. However, if you have enough money there to survive, can you take a bet on yourself? If you have the right systems and tools and leverage in place and you have the right agents and you have the right plan, would you be willing to take a bet on yourself? The reason I say this is because maybe that will change number 5 for you. If you have a backup plan sitting in a bank account that covers your survival for a year, if you did nothing more than what you're doing today, maybe you change this date. Maybe you take a big old bet on yourself and you decide you're worth it. And you decide your agents are worth it, if that makes sense. So I want you to really think about, from a time perspective, what do you put here? Be radical, because the world awaits you and your fullest potential doing what you need to do. Now, here's where the magic happens truly. I want you to take this and recreate it in your own format, sign it and date it. Sign your name, put today's date on it, and then share it with someone that cares, that will hold you accountable. Your spouse may not be the best person because they might freak out. Just kidding. But share it with someone that you feel would be invested in this plan with you. Maybe someone that benefits when you step into your greatness that's within you to become the broker that you need to be. I really believe that this is the key to making this happen, and not just being a webinar you took today, is really deciding, I'm going to put this in front of somebody and make this real. Okay. So I really want you to take this last step as part of the no holding back and the no turning back that you need in order for this to happen. Otherwise, I fear that at the end of 2021, we may be having the same discussion. All right, now I would like to tell you about a real story of someone who went through this program with us and is in coaching with us, and his brokerage is one of our clients. And I love this story. He wrote himself a resignation letter, and he dated it for May 1st, 2021. He started by saying he'd be out of production in, I think it was June or July. And when he really looked at the numbers, he decided to get a little bit more radical, and he moved it up to May. Oh no, actually, I think it was September. It was September. And he said once he looked at his numbers and really truly understood his plan, he recognized that he could bump that up. So now he's on track right now to be out of production on May 1st. And so you can read the letter he wrote to himself. I'm just going to read it out loud for someone who may not be reading right now. It says, "Dear," and he mentions the name of his team, the one that he produces for, "I love you and all, but it's time to go. It's time that I resign from wearing so many hats, handling the day-to-day task, and focus only on being the best coach and broker to the team I can be. You are in great hands with the team members in their respective roles, and I will trust them fully to manage their responsibilities. I am focusing only on my coaching and broker role. I will be in a better position to attract talent that fit our culture, maintain passion for team member success, consistently monitor operations, profitability, and the overall vision and purpose of our great company. This is the best for both of us." And then he signed his name. When I saw this, guys, I was just overjoyed, because I knew that there are a lot of people that are going to benefit from this very difficult decision that he made. And I believe that for you too. So do what you got to do. Write yourself a resignation letter, post up your transition plan somewhere for people to see. Don't be ashamed of it. Be bold and move forward into what you always dreamed was possible for you. I believe it's possible because I've seen it done. I don't know you personally, but if you're here today, I believe you want more, and I believe you can have it with the right plan and the right decision. Now, I have to go ahead and say that this doesn't just come easily. It comes with partnership. It comes with tools, leverage, and systems, just like I mentioned before. At the Locker Room, this is what we do. We partner with you, we link arms, and we walk you through everything that you need to execute on your plans. In addition to that, we provide you a ton of resources and training for your agents so that you don't have to do all of that heavy lifting. We help you get your agents into production. We help you recruit so that you can get back to the business of being the broker that you designed yourself. You designed this life around. We do that with a variety of tools, all of them digital and available to you anywhere you live. And it's simple. You simply go to our website, tlrnation.com/partners, to find out more. If someone invited you here to this class today, I want you to get back in touch with them, share your plan with them, ask them how you can get connected with the Locker Room so that you can have the support that you need to make this plan a reality for you. Here at the Locker Room, we are just thrilled when we see brokers take monumental steps forward. It's what we do. It's what we believe in passionately. And we know that the ripple effect of your impact is what makes us successful. And that is what we live for. So we want to thank all of you so much for that. All right, so let me take a look here and see if we have anybody. We don't have anybody commenting yet. So I'm hoping that you guys got some really great nuggets from this. And if there's anything we can do for you, we look forward to hearing from you. So please reach out to either the person that invited you here today or reach out to us here on our website. My name is Jennifer Henry. It has been my honor to present here to you today how to get out of production. Have an awesome day, everyone.